My name is Rob McCoy. I am the National Sales Manager for Holganics, transferring into a COO role, but still have a ton of contact with our customers and different people using the product and sharing all those experiences, and doing a lot of consulting with some of our client base out in the field, and as you can see, specifically with Major League Baseball, the NFL, PGA, NCAA, you name it, I'm in communication with them. So that is really helpful for perspective from a lot of different angles, seeing different usage of the product, different results. And to be quite frank with you, when you have those different experiences, you get different data feedback, different levels of data, whether we are talking about what a consumer may give as feedback versus, a CEC data point. So we're going to, kind of hit on all those because you never know what is going to be useful for you. So our agenda today is basically, what is HGX Pro Bio 800 plus turf? What it can do for you, how you can use it, some of the case studies and the data, and then some resources at the end to make sure that this isn't all the information you get, because there is a ton of information out there, and that can always be useful to just make the process a little bit easier for you and make sure that your application method is going to be the most effective for you. That picture in the background, that's a Wilmington Blue Rocks. That's a minor league AA affiliate. They were actually one of the first users of this product, and were able to cut back on their watering, the amount of fertilizer that was needed. They actually have about 900 events a year on that field, between practices, games, concerts, community events, you name it. So that field gets a ton of wear and tear, and still holds up beautifully. So they attribute it to that quite a bit. Our name has been under the main scoreboard for many, many years, and we appreciate that. It's been a great working relationship, and frankly, they're 15 minutes away from us, so it's one of the easier ones to work with. So first thing is, why did we change the brand name? So a lot of people are familiar with some of our Holganics products, and it was just called Holganics Bio 800 Plus Lawn before. We wanted to take a little bit different angle because of the way we were focused on marketing it, who we were planning on having use it. This is a professional product. This is not something that the average homeowner is going to go out and purchase and slap down like a Scott's Weed and Feed. Even though it is very easy to use, it is something that when you're looking to tweak things or maximize results, this is usually the type of specialty product that you're going to go to. Specialty can be used in a loose term, because you can have it as the backbone of a program that you're doing, something that is always in there to reduce the fertilizer need, build up root system, and things like that. Or you can use it on a specific one-time use type of application to achieve a specific result that you're just not able to get in your standard practices. So, as you heard me mention, some of the benefits of using the product. The product reduces the need for inputs, but not just because of the expansion of the root system. As you can see in a lot of those pictures, you have other products out there that can expand root system. That can be through certain chemical inputs. We see a massive explosion of root system that really creates a thick web-like root system, and that's done through the soil biology. We are adding an entire consortium of soil biology that is completely functional without adding in some of the other pre-existing components. So as you can tell, the 800 number is because there's always over 800 different species of soil microbes in the product, along with the food sources and different boosters in there to help that colonize once it gets in there. Our patented stacking process of the product makes it so that we can actually put it into a concentrate without it becoming overly active, so that we can save that activity for when it gets into the soil. It's going to boost resilience against the stressors, specifically disease. We see stressors in traffic and insect damage. It's going to help with all of those. Does it mean that it's going to stop insects from feeding on the turf? No, but it is going to make it so that it recuperates faster. When it comes to a disease, it will directly combat some of the fungi that are causing those diseases. In very simple terminology, without getting too sciencey, if you have more good fungi than bad fungi, then that's going to, and that outweighs it, that's going to win. And as I said, I'm not going to get sciencey on that, but there are specific modes of action that will combat different disease that we see on a pretty regular basis, brown spot, dollar spot, things like that, that we have definitive control over and preventative factors over. That is a huge benefit when you're really looking for soil health and able to reduce some of those inputs to get that type of benefit. If you're in a transition zone where you get a lot of that pressure from disease, it's huge to not feel that all the time and know that you're working in the right direction. It's also beneficial to not have to use a fungicide, because a fungicide is doing exactly the opposite of what this Bio 800 is doing in the soil. We are adding life into the soil. We're adding activity, increasing the metabolism of the soil so that the plants can uptake more of the nutrients and water that is available, whereas a fungicide is killing a lot of those beneficial microbes in the soil. And sterilizing would be a strong word for it, but if you can think of that type of effect, that's what's happening. When you remove different components of that soil food web, it's not going to function properly. It's just like cogs on a wheel. You start removing a different cog, all of a sudden half of it doesn't move, and you don't get the end result that you're looking for. It'll speed up seed germination dramatically. I'm really excited for the season that we're coming into. This is when we get some of our best feedback and some of the most excited customers, because cutting the germination time down means that you're cutting customer calls down. Being able to increase the percentage of germination that you get just makes you look like a superstar in front of your customers. And that's really what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that we're getting referrals, avoiding customer complaints, and producing the best product that we can out there. As you've heard, I don't need to go into the root growth. I've explained that quite a few times. And the overall soil health, having soil health is a dramatically important factor in what we're doing. Do we always focus on that? No, we're often forced to focus on a lot of the aesthetic factors in what we're trying to accomplish, and not necessarily the agronomic factors. Wouldn't it be great if we focus on the agronomics and we got the aesthetics that we're looking for? Well, that's the hybrid approach that we're talking about with a Bio 800 product, and used in combination with certain weed controls, certain fertilizers. So you're not completely getting away from it. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds. I'm going to address the picture here before I talk about the business aspect of this. So this picture is the Sedgwick County Zoo in Kansas. This is their elephant enclosure. And as you can see in this elephant enclosure, they have pretty nice grass there. Sure, there's a little bit of dirt spots here and there, but they have actually, you see 6 of the elephants in the picture. There's actually 8 elephants in the entire enclosure. When we were brought in to consult about this, if you pay attention to the ratio of dirt to turf in that picture, it was the opposite. There was about 10% coverage of turf and 90% dirt. and it wasn't good for the elephants for grazing purposes. It looked terrible. It became mud. Like, it was just one problem after another that it was creating. We incorporated Bio 800 and Blue Sky Fertilizer along with their new seeding, and it immediately, I can't say immediately, over a 3-month time frame, it went from 10% turf to 90% turf. Now, do any of us ever deal with traffic issues? Well, you can imagine the traffic issues here. Not only are they heavier, but they're in an enclosure. So they walk the same path and graze the same areas every single day. The fact that we were able to get new seed germinated was remarkable. The fact that we're able to keep that grass there without reseeding all the time is also remarkable. That is just due to the recovery process within the soil and the strength of the root system, where it can be kept that short, and because there's 8 to 10 inch roots underneath of that, that's where most of the plant is. So you're not damaging most of the plant with the top growth. You're actually able to use that support system to recover quickly and keep it not only aesthetically pleasing, but pleasing for the animals in there. So it's interesting that this is the picture for the when we talk about increasing your business's sustainability. This is the type of story that I would use when I'm talking to my customers when they ask about, hey, is it safe for kids and pets? It 100% is safe for kids and pets. As a matter of fact, they use it it's used in situations like this. If it wasn't safe for kids and pets, do you think they would be using it in an elephant enclosure? Not only that, after we got this result, they started using our products all over the Sedgwick County Zoo, including in endangered species enclosures. So you can look at that as kind of a factual piece of information that you can bank on, that it's not just something that we say. This is used in one circumstance after another as a marketing differentiator. You want to make sure that you are ahead of the trends. You're not just staying on the trends, but we know that there's an environmental focus right now. The word organic has been thrown out there for, that used to be a hot topic. If you really pay attention to the trends, that's been around for decades at this point. That is not what I would consider a trend that you can use in marketing. It's almost like saying, yeah, we're going to provide a weed-free green lawn. Well, somebody that says we're going to do it organic based, or we're going to use organic products and we're going to provide a weed-free green lawn is so run-of-the-mill at this point. It's much more unique if you say we're incorporating living biology into our processes to maximize the results and reduce harmful inputs. That's actually not just something that you're saying, it's something that you're doing. So there are a lot of unique characteristics that you can look to this Bio 800 Plus to differentiate your business within your marketplace. Here's one of our lawn care customers in Virginia. This is just one of the lawn. It's actually a contractor. This is one of his customers. He was so excited about the results he was getting. He said, he just happened to be out there. He texted me this picture and said, every lawn looks like this. And in Virginia, if you're not familiar with it, there is a ton of disease pressure. There is no disease in the picture. The picture has not been doctored or anything like that. But that was his point, was we're in a heavy disease pressure time of the year, and these are the results that we're seeing. I can't believe that I'm getting this without putting fungicides down. And this was in their normal process. They were putting 4 fungicides down per season and went to 0, and were getting this result. Even when they were using fungicides before, they were still seeing disease. So the result really worked well for him. So when we talk about agronomic results, what's the business benefit for you? Well, fewer callbacks, fewer cancels, happier customers. That's what we're looking for all the time. I'll take it one step further. Happy customers are the only customers that are going to refer you business. Your acquisition costs can actually go down within your market because you're getting more of your customers are coming from referrals rather than a direct mail piece or a Google search or something else that you're paying for. Invest in your customers and they can give back. And with this type of product, this is something that differentiates. They can understand, like when they're talking to their friend, hey, my service is environmentally friendly. They use living biology. It's really working well. The results are phenomenal. You should try it out. That's a differentiator that they can communicate pretty easily. That doesn't sound like, hey, it's an organic service. Well, everybody says organic service. So, don't fall into the same path. Just because you hear everybody else doing it doesn't mean that you should do it. So how do you use Bio 800 plus turf? Well, simple maintenance applications are 7 ounces per 1,000 square feet. We can tank mix with most things. The only thing on a macro scale that I would say to stay away from doing is don't tank mix with fungicides. If you're still going to use fungicides in your program, just make sure that they're not tank mixed. Because as I described, the battle between good and bad microbes in the soil, that same thing can happen in a tank. And when you're putting it in as a concentrate in either a fungicide form or a biological form, that you're going to have a negative effect. Rate reductions are possible immediately. You don't have to wait for that. When I would say 20-some years ago, when we were using organic products, the knock against organic products was they're a little bit more expensive, in some cases a lot more expensive, but you had to wait to see the results. Well, just because this is a quote-unquote organic product and it's environmentally safe, it's actually a food-grade product, doesn't mean that you have to wait to see some of the results, and doesn't mean that you have to wait to start taking advantage of the reduction in inputs. We'll see some of the university studies later on, but that's an important factor. You can get your return on investment right away, so that when you're thinking about how much more do I have to put into my budget in order to use a product like this, the answer is usually it's cost neutral. You're putting this in, you're reducing other things, and we could go through a program with you that fits your needs, that is going to be budget friendly and kind of get you on that new trend and get you to some new results. So how do you use? Well, as we mentioned the rates already, but you can use it with your standard applications. When it comes to doing one-time applications, there is no better use than with an installation. That can be installing sod, but it can also be installing plants in the landscape. You're just going to get everything to root in significantly better. The real trick to this, of what you're trying to accomplish, is that you're avoiding transplant stress. Most people don't think of transplant stress with sod, but it absolutely happens. You can see on the left, that is visible transplant stress, where the sod is not rooting in, it's not recognizing the soil as its native soil and what it's used to, and it's not sourcing the nutrients the same way it would source the nutrients where it was originally grown. So with Bio 800, you can accomplish that. Here's the real kicker of this picture that's up here. This is the same property. This is 2 different spots on the same property. Our contractor was doing this install of sod over the entire area. This was all done at the same time. The difference was he got a little RTU of Bio 800 and was spraying it out and ran out of product. The picture on the right is what was treated with Bio 800. The picture on the left is what wasn't treated. This is only 3 days after install. So the picture on the left is similar to what we see a lot of times, where, yeah, you're not going to get everything to root in right away, and you're hoping that the customer waters, and you're trying to set up irrigation so that it waters correctly, but the weather's not always cooperating, and that's the result you get. The picture on the right is what everyone's expecting, where, hey, I bought sod, I want instant grass, I want immediate gratification. Well, that's what you get when the sod feels as though it's back in its native environment. It knows how to source the nutrients. The roots start diving into that soil right away. they actually couldn't pull up the sod on the picture on the right, and it looks like you could trip over the sod on the picture on the left. So when it comes to even one-time usage, if you have a high-end client where you need to get a quick result, this might be the product solution for you in getting that quick result and just doing it as a one-time application. Which brings me to, why would you want to do that, and why would you not just use it all the time? Well, you do have to be specific on your storage. So the Bio 800 is safe outside of refrigeration for up to 4 weeks. It obviously depends on the exact storage. You know, if you leave it out in the sun, the sunlight's going to create activity within the soil microbes. Heat will create more activity. Motion creates more activity. We do, you know, if you're going to be using it on a regular basis, we do have refrigeration equipment available for you. There's no charge. We supply that. So if you need to store product for a longer period of times, maybe because you're using it every day, but you're not using all of it every day, that is something that we can supply for you. But that's one of the unique things. We are dealing with living biology. This is not a couple strains of biology that when we plug it into the soil, it may have a result, it may not. This is always going to have a result because we're inputting the entire consortium of biology back into that soil. It wants to be active. We are holding it back. By cooling it down, we make it go dormant. We're not taking it past the point where it's going to go from dormancy to damage. So we keep it in a nice refrigerated zone, and then when we're ready to put it out, it warms up, hits that soil, and it is ready to become active. So a lot of people are like, boy, that's really inconvenient. What most of the customers say that are using the product is, this is actually way more predictable and way more convenient than I thought it was going to be, because I would have to store the product in my shop anyway. So I just have to plug this unit in and I keep the product in there. It's nice and neat. It's neater than most of the products that I have to have. I always know where it's at. It's organized, and you know, it's got a pump that it's just going to pump the product right out. I don't have to worry about a gravity feed or anything like that. So the feedback has been exactly the opposite of what we originally thought it was going to be when it comes to the refrigeration of the product, and it increases the predictability of the product. You know, when you're dealing with any product that's been sitting around for a long time, you're expecting a result. You can't guarantee the result the longer it's been sitting. With this, we know that it's going to circulate it every day. It's going to keep it at the temperature it's supposed to be kept at. If you look at any label for a lot of the turf and ornamental products that you're using, you're going to see on there storage instructions. Keep in a cool, dry location, preferably out of the sun. You see that 90% of the time on any product. This is no different. We're just a little bit more specific when it comes to long-term storage because we want to keep that predictability in there. So I had mentioned that we were going to show some of the university studies. This is one of the more common ones that pops up because it's a really good summary of about, I can't remember if it was 24 or 26 studies that were done. This was how some of it was, the information was combined. You can see the results from NC State, Penn State, and Purdue. All of them were, you know, third-party studies that were done. This is just on the optimization of the fertilizer. So what type of fertilizer reduction can you get from one application combined with Bio 800 Plus? You can see there's, in some cases it was methylated urea, in other cases it was standard urea. But this, over all of those studies, was, you know, kind of the common for what we saw come in. A 50% reduction, a 75% reduction, an 88% reduction. In order to not blow your budget up, you're probably looking at a 50% reduction. And you can see that you have a 75 and an 88% reduction as other averages within this. So if you still want to get that color and the vigor that you're looking for, expand the root system, expand some of the other results, the fringe factors that you're hoping that you get, that you think are totally weather related, we can work on that subsurface and get you some of those results. So rather than feeling like on certain seasons you need to be a little bit lucky, we're going to control some of that luck with the soil microbes that we're using, and make it so that it's budget friendly at the same time. Here's another case study when we're talking about reductions. Ultra Green was in Tennessee, Florida, and Arkansas. They saw 50% less disease pressure despite reducing their fungicides. Their lawns stayed greener longer between applications. Not only that, they would green up earlier coming out of the winter months and go into dormancy later. They saw 15 to 20% savings in material costs. So this was, I would say that I would not shoot for a 15 to 20% savings in material costs in the first year, but it is definitely something that you should think of as being attainable in year 2 or 3 of staying consistent on a program like this. Not to mention their marketing advantage. They talked about their unique hybrid approach on all of their direct mail pieces and social media that they were doing, and were very successful with it. Go Green, this one's actually in Pennsylvania. Really simple. They had fuller, thicker lawns. This is actually a company that takes care of my lawn. They treat my lawn. They just did an application yesterday. And I can tell you, like, I don't have a nuts edge issue that I used to have before using them, because I know I'm getting these applications done all the time, and it just creates such a thick web-like root system that there's not a lot of room for weeds to push up and come through. The only spot where I see weeds are in the flower beds, or right up against the driveway where there's no turf at all, and that's really due to mowing practices, which they're not in control of. So when you do have your standard stand of turf, it's just you're not dealing with a lot of the pressures that we typically would get phone calls about. And again, they spoke about the marketing advantage and how they're able to capture customers being more unique within the their marketing database. Red Diamond Tea Company in Alabama. You can see their property here in the picture. They were able to reduce their fertilizer inputs, reduce water over the course of 3 years by 75%. 75%, if you're paying for water, is massive. I was just doing a study in the Kansas City area. And in Kansas City, the average homeowner uses 41,000 gallons of water per 1,000 square feet per year in irrigation. Now, what does that translate into that's actually usable? If that is about $190 a year in water costs per 1,000 square feet. If you're able to cut that in half, not even 75%, if you're able to cut that in half, they're saving $90 per 1,000 square feet. So $900 on a 10,000 square foot lawn. When you're able to communicate that to your customers, now that budget friendly program that you're working on, they're able to work on it the exact same way. That's a marketing advantage that you can look at. Faster establishment of new flowers. They always did seasonal flowers at this property, and they just noticed that not only did they establish quicker and they look better, they didn't have to use as much. So where they would typically have to plant, 30 flowers in a flower bed, they started cutting back to 25 to 20 because they would fill in so quick, and they didn't have to overdo the amount of flowers that they were planting. Not to mention that cuts on labor cost. Cranberry Township in Pennsylvania, they reduced their nitrogen by 28%. They were all high traffic park areas, improved root depth and root hair development. This is actually Desert Willow Golf Course in Nevada. Now, at the bottom of the picture, you can see what their soil typically looks like, which is not going to produce a really good home for turf. So all of the green area is irrigated, but it's also all treated with Bio 800. And they had phenomenal results just on rooting. And this is in an area where you typically don't have much life in the soil at all. So you are nurturing the turf and really fabricating an environment so that the turf will actually grow so that you can have a golf course there. Well, in this case, they were able to build up momentum. They were able to actually cut back on those inputs, even though there was a huge dependency on that, and cut back on their watering. They cut their water bill by $26,000 in year one. They immediately took that budget and applied it to more Organics products and were able to cut it again. And then they started treating those shrubs that were outside the turf area, just figuring, hey, we got some extra product. I'm sure it's going to be helpful for them. Some of those plants that are there started flowering, and the comment from the members of the country club was, we didn't even know that those plants could flower because they've never flowered before. So the beautification of the course was enhanced dramatically, not just because the turf was maintained better, but they were literally getting more color in the desert. So some of the resources that we have available, we have an ingredient list and this is all on our website, and also will be sent out in a follow-up email with some links. But an ingredient list, there's links to the Soil Smart program, which some of these Soil Smart programs are getting revamped right now. If you check out a Soil Smart program and you think, well, that's kind of useful for me, but I'd like to see if I can get one that's more tailored to my exact needs, one of our representatives can absolutely work with you to design that program that fits. We have marketing support, ebooks for more information. There's over 70 case studies and university resources that you can dive into and get some more concrete information that you're looking for. And we'll send out information on more webinars that are upcoming that may hit on a topic that is interesting to you. So at this point, oh, did I skip past something? Oh, there is an upcoming webinar. Speaking of that, girls in the office would get really upset if I didn't mention this. Fertilizer reduction and turf management. You know, we did hit on that quite a bit. The role of soil microbes, that webinar is August 1st, so in a couple weeks, and that's at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So you can always follow up later on. There will be a follow-up email that goes out. I look forward to hearing from any and all of you. Want to make sure that your questions get answered and that you can utilize this information and either make more sales with your customers, get better results, whatever it may be. I'm happy to help. So this is Organics signing off. Make it a great day.